during the day is basically your body's means of transporting material around the body. And the main thing that the circulatory system is delivering to the cells of your body are both food molecules and nutrients and oxygen. So those things are carried in the blood by the blood cells to all the various parts of your body. Every cell in your body is surrounded by blood vessels because they need oxygen and they need food. But at the same time, the circulatory system is removing things from the cells. What is it removing?
Waste.
Waste like what?
What is it?
Carbon dioxide is probably the biggest.
Yeah.
So it removes carbon dioxide and waste from the cells. But let me ask you this question. Does the circulatory system remove waste from the body?
No.
No. So it removes waste products from the cells. Where does it deliver them to?
What's it called?
The kidneys, the excretory system, yes. Okay, but it does remove the waste from the cells themselves. Also, the circulatory system obviously is mainly, it's powered by the heart,
That's obvious.
the main pump of the circulatory system, which moves blood throughout the system. Oh, okay. Thank you. So the heart, we're going to talk a lot about the heart today. In fact, that's what we're going to spend the rest of today on. So the heart is an important organ. It's basically a muscular, it's an organ, it's a mixture of different types of tissue, but mostly muscle tissue that's arranged in a way that it has 4 chambers that work together to circulate blood throughout the body. This is what, it looks like, pretty close, It's not the nice little, neat little heart shape like this, okay?
How did they come up with that?
It's, it roughly might, if you take the heart and you tilt it this way, and it kind of is in that basic shape, but, what are you going to do? Make a shape like this and draw a little thing with all the vessels and stuff? So, it's
Happy
just
Mother's Day.
easier. Yeah, Happy Mother's Day, you draw a little thing like that. But anyway, the heart is protected in your body by your sternum and by your rib cage. It's kind of, so if this is your heart, it is, the larger chambers are the ventricles on the bottom, and then the left ventricle is the largest chamber, so it's kind of offset a little bit to the side. So it's a little bit off to the left side. But again, it's extremely important. Without your heart functioning, you can't survive because you can't have oxygen delivered to your cells. So it needs to work constantly, and it needs to be protected. So it's protected by the rib cage and by the sternum. Now we're going to talk about the chambers of the heart and about what path blood follows. We're going to sort of build it up though, starting with like a very simplified version first. Then we'll go to one that's a little bit more accurate in terms of the anatomy, and then we'll go to an actual diagram of what the heart really looks like. But we'll do it a little at a time to help you make sure that you understand the way that blood is flowing. So the heart, this represents the heart. These 4 boxes represent the heart. Each one represents what?
The chamber?
Each is one chamber of the heart. Okay, so 4 chambers. Okay. Remember, when we talk about organs, the right side is like it's in my body. It's my right side, so it's on this side. But when you're looking at it from your perspective, it looks like it's reversed. But this is the right side of the heart. We're going to start by looking at the blood in the right side of the heart. This chamber is called the right atrium.
Did we draw this?
No, you have it on there.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Just a straight line.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean the valve? Yeah, you can draw this valve. It's like a door. These valves here, you could think of it as sort of a one-way door. That they allow blood to go through it, but blood can't go the opposite way. That's important. And in fact, sometimes if you ever had a heart murmur, or if you know somebody, that is sometimes when, because of the way the valves are formed, sometimes some blood can go backwards or sort of in the wrong direction. And if it's a small amount, then it may be just an innocent heart murmur where it doesn't really affect you in any way, but the doctor can hear it when they listen to your heart. Other times there may be more significant problems with the valve and they may have to do surgery or replace the valve or something like that, because it's important that blood's only flowing in one direction. Let's start with the right side of the heart. The right side of the heart is responsible for collecting blood from all of the various parts of your body. So, we're going to be using these terms a lot. We're going to say to the body. It pumps blood to the body, collects blood from the body. When we say that to the body, what do we actually mean? What part of your body? Some from the heart. We basically mean all cells in your body. All cells in your body need blood. And so when you say it collects blood from the body, basically mean from every part of your body. It's collecting blood from your brain, from your eyes, from your intestines, from your legs, from your feet. It's collecting blood from all over your body. It's all coming into this right side of the heart. Now this blood that was just at your feet and in your legs and in your brain and in your eye and in your intestine, what do you think that blood is like in terms of oxygen?
Low.
If it came from those places,
High.
Joe?
Low.
Yeah, it's low in oxygen because it's coming from your legs. What did it just do?
Gave it oxygen.
It gave the cells in your legs oxygen. So it's basically used up. What about the amount of carbon dioxide in that blood?
Wait, I'm confused. It's very high.
It's probably high because it's coming from cells in your brain. Your brain gave up its carbon dioxide to your blood, okay, to get rid of that waste. And it got oxygen from your blood. So this blood is low in oxygen, and it's high in carbon dioxide. Bless you.
What's your saying?
Don't steal my sayings.
So this blood, if it's low in oxygen and high in carbon dioxide, where does it need to go?
The lungs.
It needs to go to the lungs, because in the lungs, it's sort of going to get recharged. So this blood is going to go into the lower chamber, and then it's going to get pumped out, and it's going to go to the lungs.
So if it gets pumped out to the lungs, what if the lungs fill with blood and then you could breathe?
It's not getting pumped into the lungs, it's getting pumped to the blood vessels that surround. Remember those alveoli?
Yeah.
They're surrounded by blood vessels. It's pumping the blood there. So this blood gets pumped up here to the lungs.
Wait, Mr. Durrell?
And then there's some changes that take place. Because what happens to this blood once it reaches the alveoli of the lung? What happens to that blood there? Shay?
Doesn't it get oxygen?
It gains oxygen, and what does it release?
Carbon dioxide.
Yeah. Releases carbon dioxide, and it picks up oxygen. Sort of gets recharged, if you want to think of it that way.
Wait, why are they blue and green?
It's
Blue
red.
and Yeah. I
So,
know.
it's a good question. I was going to explain it. So we generally use red as a color when we're talking about circulation to indicate blood that is oxygenated, is high in oxygen. And we generally use blue for deoxygenated blood. But people often make the mistake, and even I've heard of some teachers saying that deoxygenated blood is blue and oxygenated blood is red. It's not actually blue and red. Deoxygenated blood is darker in color. It's like a dark red or a purplish color. So it does change color, but it's not like blue as in we're showing here. But it just helps us to sort of visualize it if we make it two very different colors.
I'm colorblind.
So we're always going to use red to indicate oxygenated blood. So now this blood that's leaving the lungs, it has new oxygen. It got rid of the carbon dioxide. Where does it need to go?
Heart. To the heart.
Okay. It's going to go to the heart, and eventually it's going to go where?
To the other side. The left.
Well, hold on. What, Abby?
Like to the rest of the body.
Yeah, it's all the cells I to give them that oxygen. It just picked up. So first, though, it needs to stop back in the heart again. But this time, it goes on the opposite side of the heart. The left side of the heart accepts this blood that came from the lungs. So this blood, describe its oxygen and carbon dioxide. Raise your hand, please. Just came from the lungs. No, just answer. Joe, you just answered. Somebody else.
Maggie.
What is this, Brandon?
So it's high in oxygen.
Yeah, it just came from the lungs, so it's high in oxygenated oxygen, and it's low in carbon dioxide. It goes through a valve again on the other side of the heart into the ventricle. Now, where is this? Abby just said this blood's heading out to the body, and so it gets pumped out the left side of the heart to all the parts of the body. Again, this means to the brain, to the calf muscle, to your toes, to the kidneys, to all the various parts of the body. And when it gets there, let's say some of this blood's headed into your brain. When it gets to your brain, how does it change? What happens with that to that blood, Jared?
It releases oxygen and picks up carbon dioxide.
Yeah, it gives your brain cells oxygen that they need, and it removes from them the carbon dioxide waste that they have produced. So it gives oxygen and nutrients to the cell, it takes in the carbon dioxide and waste, and now the blood, you could think of sort of it's used up.
Wait, so like the nutrients or whatever, do they go out through like pores or whatever and the
They
arteries?
diffuse through the wall of the capillary, yeah, they just diffuse like oxygen. They pass right through it. It's permeable to those nutrients. Alright, so now this blood has given up its oxygen, it's got carbon dioxide, where does it need to go? Back to the lungs again, but before it gets to the lungs, it needs to stop where? Back up to the right side and we'll repeat our cycle. So we go to the right side of the heart, then it's going to get pumped where? To the lungs, it's going to get recharged, back to the heart, then where? To the body. So we have this repeating cycle of heart to the lungs, back to the heart, then to the body. Heart, lungs, heart, body. Over and over again.
Doesn't it go to the kidneys at one point?
Yeah, when we say to the body, that includes going to the kidneys.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And this is sort of the pattern that blood follows over and over again. So if you could understand this and remember the way the blood moves, then that's going to be helpful when we start talking more specifically about the anatomy. Any questions here?
This is a very big process.
So again, right side of the heart is dealing with deoxygenated blood. The left side of the heart handles the oxygenated blood. And in the lungs and in the body is where it changes from one to the other.
Wait, oh, that was like purple.
Alright, so now let's get a little bit more accurate.
It looks like a heart.
Yeah?
Oh,
So this
Good
isn't
job, Joe.
100%
Oh, good job, Maggie.
this isn't that realistic. You know, you saw the diagram here, you see this model, but it's a little bit closer. Now we actually start to see some of the blood vessels and so forth. Let's start off by naming the chambers of the heart.
Okay.
So let's start with this one. Okay. What side of the heart is this?
That is the right.
It's the right side of the heart. And the name for the entryway, the chambers where blood enters, you remember from health?
Wait, I know this.
You may have heard it in relation to a building. If you walk in the hotel, the big lobby area is sometimes called this.
The entrance.
It means entrance.
Atrium.
Atrium.
Oh.
It's the right atrium. The atrium is the chamber that collects the blood. Okay, that blood then gets pumped into the pumping chamber, which is called the ventricle. That's going to pump it out somewhere.
That's a fun word.
So right atrium, right ventricle.
Ventricle.
And then we have the left atrium and left ventricle on the other side.
Atrium.
So those are the names of the chambers.
I think it says latrium.
So let's follow again blood. So blood comes into this right atrium. Where was it coming from? Raise your hand if you could tell me. This blood, where was it coming from, Abby?
The body.
The body, all the various parts of the body. From there, it goes in, it collects in the atrium, gets moved through a valve into the ventricle, and then it goes up this pathway.
What pathway?
This pathway up here.
Oh, okay.
This is a blood vessel. Where is this blood headed?
The lungs.
To the lungs. And there's a word that we use when we talk about the circulatory system that means lungs, and it says the word is pulmonary.
Oh, we learned about that.
So pulmonary means it has to do with the lungs. So this is a pulmonary artery because it's going to the lungs.
How do you spell that?
P-U-L-M-O-N-A-R-Y. So that's the pulmonary artery. Do you guys know the difference between an artery and a vein?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, I do. Not really. Yeah. Doesn't a vein just bring like blood and stuff, and like arteries are like transportation like that?
No, they both transport, but you can remember it this way. The A in artery goes with away. Arteries lead away from the heart. Veins lead to the heart.
No, I thought veins lead away because they go
No.
to your fingers.
This is a pulmonary artery, meaning it's an artery, so it's going away from the heart. And pulmonary means it's going
Away
to the lungs. You have veins and arteries in your hand. Arteries bring the blood down into your fingers. Veins bring them back.
Okay, stop.
Okay, so this blood goes to the lungs. In the lungs, it gets recharged, gives up its carbon dioxide, it gets new oxygen, and then heads back from the lungs into the other side of the heart, the left atrium.
Oh, now this is.
Okay, there's a name for this chamber. I mean, these blood vessels. You could probably guess what it is now that we just talked about a couple things. It's coming from the lungs, so what's the first one? Pulmonary. It's going to the heart.
Vein.
Those are the pulmonary veins.
Good job, Shay.
So they bring the blood back into the left atrium. It goes through a valve in the left ventricle. Then it gets pumped out. Where is this blood headed?
To the body.
To the body. It's oxygenated. It's ready to go to all the various parts of the body and provide them with oxygen.
That was good.
Now, the word for this blood vessel, it's the main artery. It's going away from the heart. It's the main artery that leaves the heart. You know what it is, Jackson? No. It's got a special name. It's called the aorta. A-O-R-T-A. The aorta.
That's funny.
And so this aorta leaves the heart, and blood goes through various other arteries, headed out to the different parts of the heart of the body.
What does that say?
To the body.
Okay.
That blood's headed to the body.
To the body.
So again, this is the pattern. Again, we have the right atrium, right ventricle, lungs. Left atrium, left ventricle, body. If we follow here just some blood cells, we could sort of trace their path.
We don't have this.
I know, you don't have to write anything, but just watch. So, these blood cells are coming from,
The lungs.
no,
Wait, no,
from the body to the right atrium, right ventricle. It's now going through what?
Stop. The pulmonary.
Pulmonary what?
Artery.
Pulmonary artery headed to where?
The lungs.
The lungs. Okay, if we follow the return trip, there's only one. What? Came in through what?
The
Pulmonary vein, right atrium, right ventricle, going through aorta.
To the body.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes,
Why was that blue one behind the other blue one?
Because they were
Why was
slow.
that only one red?
I don't know, it's just a diagram to show you the path.
Oh, I
They
thought
don't really come single file. Alright, if we look here, this is just an animation showing the heart. The heart
That is so cool.
pumps about, once every second or so at rest. If you're exercising, it pumps at twice or even 3 times that rate, 2 or 3 times each second. But the way that it pumps, it contracts. First, the atria contract. Oh, I'll skip
See,
this.
look it.
Yeah, I know.
It's It's way behind. And it stops.
And they don't really go single file. This is just to show you like.
Come on, little guy.
Oh my
How
gosh,
blood
Shay.
Go with your body.
Do it. I think you get lost.
See, now there's only one.
Does the other one die?
No, I think you get lost.
And then it like bounces
What if
up.
together?
You get lost.
Alright.
It can still alone.
So if you watch this animation again, what happens is the atrium contracts, pushing blood into the ventricle, then the ventricle contracts, pumping the blood out of the heart completely. And that's what these signs indicate, the contracting of the atrium, the ventricle, sending blood to the lungs and back out to the body. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So we have the the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. You can see here, these are the veins that lead into the heart.
What's that yellow?
Why is Tim over there?
That's another vein. This is the aorta, which sort of loops around and goes back behind us.
What's the yellow?
I know, it's
Those are just blood vessels. All right. Our last slide is we're going to talk about the actual anatomy now.
That's not our last song.
Right. So we have to actually name these parts. This is what the heart really looks like. If you were to look at the heart, a cross section. Here's another model. Again, it looks like that.
It's kind of gross.
So you can see the various parts. You could open up. You can see the chambers.
Ew.
You could see the valves inside. So let's label. Let's start with the chambers. Raise your hand if you could tell me what chamber is number 4. I want to hear from some new people too. Maggie?
Okay, hold on. It's the right atrium.
That's the right atrium. About number 5, Karina. That's the right ventricle. About number 9, Austin.
Left atrium.
Left atrium.
Ow.
And number 10, Sarah.
Left.
The left ventricle. Good. So those are our 4 chambers. Should be fairly easy to label those. The atrium are the smaller of the chambers. They're the top ones. They receive blood. Ventricles are bigger chambers. They are the ones that are responsible for pumping blood out of the heart. All right, so let's start again in the right atrium. So we have the blood
Do we have to
comes
put it?
in. No. So if you, this is the heart. Okay. You'll see this is the tube coming in from the bottom. Okay. These are again veins. They're going to the heart. There's one comes in from the bottom. One comes from the top. Now, where does the blood that's coming in this one? Where do you think that comes from? This is in my body. My brain, my head, my upper chest, from my arms and down in there. What about this one?
What one?
The one that goes in from the bottom collects all the blood from the lower parts of your
Your
body.
phone's vibrating.
Okay? So blood comes in to those 2 chambers. This is called the vena cava. The main vein that carries the blood into the right atrium is called the vena cava.
It sounds Spanish.
Actually, it's Latin, but this one's actually called the superior vena cava. This is inferior. You don't need to know the difference.
What?
Superior is the top one, inferior is the bottom one.
Should we write this?
No, don't worry about that.
It's me.
All right, so blood comes into the atrium. Again, where did it come from?
The body.
From all the parts of the body. Goes through the valve into the right ventricle, and then gets pumped out, goes up here, and goes one of 2 ways. What is the name of this blood vessel?
The pulmonary artery.
Pulmonary, because it's going to the lungs. Artery, because it's going away from the heart. Now, where do you think this one goes?
Outside, so it's the pulmonary vein.
But this is all pulmonary artery.
So it's going into the.
Where do you think this one's going?
I have no idea, Mr. Dillon.
Where's this blood headed?
To the
To
lung.
the body.
To the lungs. This is headed to
The right one.
the right lung.
Oh.
This is headed to
The left lung.
the left lung. That's why it splits in 2, to go to each lung.
Oh. I thought it was
All right, goes to the lungs. What happens to the oxygen level?
It
Goes up. In the lungs, it gets new oxygen, gets rid of its carbon dioxide, And then where does that have to go?
And then it goes back to the heart. Right? Am I right?
Back to the heart.
Haha.
So those are two pulmonary arteries. Comes back to the heart and through these tubes here, these vessels.
Is that number
I don't even know
7?
what those arrows are.
This is number 8 and number 2.
Oh, I thought that
So
was
this blood is coming from the lungs. So what's one word we're going to use? Lungs,
No, pulmonary.
pulmonary. It's going to the heart, vein. These are pulmonary veins.
Good job, Brandon.
These pulmonary veins bring this oxygen blood back into the left atrium. The blood goes to the left ventricle. The left ventricle then pumps it out, and then you see this very large artery here. Has a special name. It loops around. It's called an arch. This is called the aortic arch. And so it's sort of the main, biggest artery that leaves the heart. And as you can see, there's these branches that lead off of it. Where do you think these ones are going?
I'm not sure.
To the body.
Where?
Oh,
Yeah, up to the head and the arms. Then you see, if you follow the aorta, it loops back, goes behind the heart, and down. Where do you think this is headed?
And the legs.
Lower body, yes. The division, yeah, one more thing to write. The division, the wall that separates the heart into the